We, and again here, as a librarian I speak, I'm very happy to offer you the Encyclopedia of Life. And this is a major project with most of the big institutions of the world. And the idea is to go on site. We have a homepage from which you can go to 1.9 million pages, each of which is devoted to one species. And behind that are 300 to 600 million pages of scientific literature on biodiversity. That's the plan. So that's how it would look like. At present, we have about 170,000 of the 1.8 million pages have been digitized, and about 30 million of the 300 to 600 million pages have been digitized in what we call the Biodiversity Heritage Library. And you can visit it in this, and we're now working EOL.org, and we're working with the Arab group to organize an Arab EOL, a contribution to it. That's the home page, and you can go from there and choose where you want to go. And sample species pages look like that: picture, name, origin, source, etc., positioning, and archaea, bacteria, chromista, fungi, plants, protozoa, viruses. Every one of them has its own species page. And the first regional EOLs were with China. The second was with us for the Arab world, and I'm very happy to welcome the group of scientists from the Arab world working on biodiversity who will be implementing this project into reality. And this is already the governance structure which we've done: a committee with all major institutions, an executive committee that runs the day-to-day affairs, then IT, libraries, translation, and science, with the Science Advisory Council that advises the groups, and then connection with the Biodiversity Convention focal points, and then the scientists are organized in working groups dealing with their specialties, whether they be mammals, plants, insects, etc. And we even have a special TV science series episode devoted to the EOL. So, my friends, science is advancing every day. The technology is like magic. The Arab world is falling behind. Oops. It's a fact. We got to recognize that. Let me show you why. This is the percentage distribution of titles of Arabic and English reading material. And you will note that in science and technology we have 8%, they have 20%. In social sciences, the Arabic is 23% and they have 35%. So 55% is in the sciences, whether social sciences or natural sciences. On the other hand, religion, we've got 25% and they've got 4%. And language and literature, we have 23% and they have 14%. So you can see the relative weight of that. And for all our Egyptian and Arab friends, these are titles. When you go to the book fair or you go to the bookstores, you will find 10 editions of Fatawi Ibn Taymiyyah. Here they're counted as one. You will find 10 editions of Riyadh al-Salihin. It's counted as one. So that count even understates the imbalance in between science and heritage, one could call it. So we're falling behind, and that requires public education. The media, unfortunately, does not help educate the public sufficiently about these issues, and scientists are not sufficiently engaged. The scientists are not reaching out, and that's why we did our own TV series. There are 2 preliminary episodes which will be shown during lunch breaks here. We need capacity support, and building capacity for science has to recognize these differences, which I mentioned before. We must fix up on building our own capacity. In some countries, you cannot build capacity by collaboration. In some more proficient and advanced countries, like Egypt, you can build through collaboration. This has been studied by the academies, the Inter-Academy Council that Muhammad Hassan spoke about. I had the privilege, along with the current president of TWAS and myself, to present on behalf of all the scientists of the world to Kofi Annan, UNDP, and the World Bank the findings of science on this. And what we need are these 5 clusters: science, policy, human resources, institutions, recognizing the role of the private sector, and financing mechanism. They're all essential. They reinforce each other. But on finance, what we need in our part of the world is to recognize young people. In the US, they have venture capitalists. And here's another one of my favorite pictures, because not only they put pennies and receive huge amounts, but they can recognize talent when they see it. And so they look at this group of young people, and that is Microsoft Corporation 1978. And the question is, would you have invested? And here is Bill Gates, when he was just a kid, like many of those who are here, and Paul Allen and all these guys. The question is, if a bunch of young Egyptian or Arab youth came and said, we have a great idea about something called Windows that's going to change the world, and we need $2 million. Would our industrialists give them the $2 million, do you think? Well, nowadays, of course, everybody wants to invest in Microsoft, but in those days, that's the trick. So we need to become producers of knowledge, not just consumers of technology. We need to transform rhetoric into action. We've had many past declarations, many government announcements. But as my friend Zapiro has said, it doesn't equal action. In fact, it is a sad thing, and I use that quotation in my opening statement with Jacques Diouf in Montpellier. We have the capacity to eliminate hunger from the face of the earth in our lifetime. We need only the will. So spoke Jack Kennedy, President Kennedy, in 1963, in the World Food Congress 1963. Today, the number of hungry people has grown. Despite a global commitment by all the leaders of the world in 2000 to put it as the #1 Millennium Development Goal, it has grown. What went wrong? Well, again, Zapiro of South Africa has a beautiful cartoon. This is supposed to be an African Union, but it could be anything else. You know, French to English, English to Swahili, English into Arabic, Arabic into French, rhetoric into action. We're still missing a key translator. Luckily, we have with us some real translators like Dr. Hani Hilal and Dr. Hind Hanafi. Welcome, both of you here. We can make it happen. Can we catch up in science? Can we compete? I say yes, Korea did it, Taiwan did it, Singapore did it, and we can do it. And we here are proud to join with the artisans of a better future. So let us dare to dream, dare to be bold, and we can do things differently, and we can succeed. And I will remind you with 2 dreams that seemed impossible. Antarctica, when it was so-called rediscovered, immediately people wanted to bring in the bulldozers and industry and mining and minerals and money and build military bases. And then a group of idealists, including my late friend Jacques Cousteau, said, no, let's keep the wilderness pristine. Let's keep it for all of humanity. Let's keep it for science. And people said, are you out of your mind? Do you mean you want a whole continent just left to the penguins? And he said, yes. And guess what? We succeeded. We got the Antarctica Agreement, and Antarctica was not colonized as some people would have. And in 1963, those of us like me of a certain age who studied in the United States remember the battles for civil rights. The late Martin Luther King stood in Washington, D.C. and said, I have a dream. And it was a dream. I have a dream that my children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. Well, it seemed a faraway dream, but it was actually realized. It happened. And the audacity of hope must stay with us. And Margaret Mead has told us, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. So let us, out of this gathering, move beyond the knowledge and the understanding to action. Let us work together, for there is so much we can do for a whole generation and for the whole world. And for the Egyptians and the Arabs here, I say our youth may look weak and unprepared, and the competition may look fierce. But I say we shall surprise the world. Thank you.